Hey everybody, it's the Trout, and welcome once again to the Trout Show podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we take you to a guy that has been a great artist for years and has a lot of stories to talk about his career in the music industry. The fact that he does voiceover some of the famous commercials out there. He's done plays. He's just done a little bit of everything. His name is Sugaray Rayford. He's kind of a soul blues singer. But the fact is, he's worked with some of the most famous artists out there, and his stories are remarkably interesting to hear. So sit back, get yourself an adult beverage, and enjoy this episode with Sugaray Rayford, the guy that's going to tell some great stories. That's next on The Trout Show. Are you confused about what's going on in the financial situation in America right now? What you need is an expert, someone that can help you reach your financial possibilities. And that's David Smith with Everett Jones at 469-372-1587. David has years of experience of helping people just like you, because his number one concern is you. That's David Smith with Everett Jones, 469-372-1587. Reach out to him today.
Let me tell you about my baby, my baby, my baby, my baby. They never come true, but I'll keep on pushing on the trail that always leads.
Looked at your Wikipedia and all that. And then I said, wait a minute. There's
I have a Wikipedia?
Yeah, you do.
You know, people put that stuff up. I got to have my media guy go look at it. I hope it ain't some weird crap on that.
Well, you know, most of the time it's true. I read it. Most of it's like pretty normal stuff. But several years ago, I interviewed a TV star. Not on here. I was doing something else. And I had to get him tickets. And I said, well, you were born on this date. And he goes, who told you that? I said, Wikipedia. They go, that's not right. I said, yeah. So, but the thing about it, so I'm reading about you, and what was missing was, born in Tyler, moved to West Coast, San Diego area, I guess it was when you were just a baby or whatever, just a kid. Ended up staying there.
I don't know what that, see, that's messed up already.
Well, whenever, okay. But we'll get to that. Yeah. But you played at a church.
Yeah.
Is that true? Or that part is true?
Yeah, I was, first of all, I didn't come to California until I joined the Marine Corps. So I was born and raised in Texas.
Okay, so how long did you stay in Texas? Because you said you moved from Tyler to Dallas.
I left Texas when I was 18, when I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
But all that time, yes, I was Church of God in Christ. I was one of the national ministers of music in Church of God in Christ. I was one of the national choir directors. So yes, I played all over the country with the church, with the Winans, and I knew the Clark sisters real well.
Oh, wow.
Bishop J.O. Patterson. I worked under Dr. Maddie Moss Clark. I was one of her choir directors in the Love Alive choirs, and I had my own choir called IYC for years, which was 315 choir members, and I left that when I was 16. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I already read these Wikipedia things. I'm like, I didn't know I had one, but I'm just like, what? No, so
yeah, somebody wrote it and put it up there.
I didn't come to California until I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay. Well, this is the thing that I was wondering, because, see, I looked at it and I go, okay, here's when his music really started hitting. It was the 2000s. It was, not Wikipedia. I was just reading about it.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, well, there's a big gap in there somewhere. What was he doing? Well, you just got to tell me. He spent 10 years in the Marine Corps.
But even before that, I was doing huge things in the gospel world.
Okay.
So I just kind of like, I had gotten, one of the reasons I joined the Marine Corps is that after graduation, or before I graduated, I actually joined the delayed entry program, I think the summer of the 11th grade. And I had just gotten burnt out of music. I was doing gospel, playing ball, but I was playing music literally 7 days a week. I had my home church, Bethel Church of God in Christ, which was the oldest church of God in Christ in Texas, out of Tyler. And I had 2 choirs there. We had the young adult choir and the old folks choir. That's where black folks did it. Then I had the state choir. I had my own choir. And then we had the national choir, which, every year the Church of God in Christ come together for what they call the National Convocation in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I was one of the choir directors there. Then on top of all that, I was playing drums and keyboards and singing and playing sports and going to school. I just got burnt out.
What was the driving force to move you back to what you liked so much?
I will tell you now, and it's the weirdest thing. This is why sometimes whether you're a believer or not, God has plans for you. And, plans within plans, and you can't even fathom. So I had a son. I was living with his mom. Thank God I didn't marry her. No offense to you. She's a great mom. Just wasn't good. We were together for a long time.
Yeah,
Andrea, we still talk now. Anyway, I'm old school. I was raised by my grandmother. And I'm old school Negro. And I'll say that. I'm old school Negro. Not like some of the guys today. I was raised, you work. You may not make a lot of money, but you work. My grandma always said, if you don't work, you're going to steal. And she couldn't stand by no steals or no foods. Yeah. Neither one of those.
Yeah.
So, I was working 3 jobs. And I literally was working 3 jobs. I was sleeping maybe 3 hours a day.
And where were you living at the time?
And that time I was in Oceanside and Vista, California.
Okay, so you're in California. Okay.
I was in California. Yeah, because when I got out, again, the Marine Corps kept sending me back to California. So all my roots were kind of like in California. Sure. And after having been around the world, I just couldn't see myself at that time moving back to Texas. It was too, without any disrespect, I love my state. But at that time, it was just too, the minds were too, what a word I'm looking for, trying not to be disrespectful. The minds, in my opinion, were just kind of closed. I had been around a multi-world, you know what I mean? So I just need to be where I could be me.
Yeah.
Now, after all that stuff, one of the things I started doing was my youngest brother moved out here with me. I moved him out here to keep him out of trouble. He had moved to Oklahoma with my other brother who was in the Army at that time. And we moved him out of Texas to keep him out of trouble. He wanted to join the military, but neither one of us wanted to let him join in. I did 10 years. My other brother, I think, did 16, 17 years in the Army. So we we both have already done it. You can get out of Tyler, out of Texas easier than we did. Because you got brothers. You got a brother in Oklahoma, you got a brother in California. So he went to Oklahoma for a little while, stayed with my brother there, and then I brought him out here to California and got him a job, and he was living with me doing good. Now, having said all that, we started a security company. Or we started working for a security company, Nestle Security. This is my 3rd job, standing security. And, me being a Marine, I'm doing the job, they would come out, it'd be pouring rain or something. I'm still out there standing post. I I'd only been out the Marine Corps 2 years. So my mind was very, military. So they loved me. They loved me.
Sure. Yeah.
The next thing, they kind of made me a supervisor or whatever. And my brother, my youngest brother, because I work ethic, he did real well. And some of the apartment complex that he was being security had loved him so much. They gave him a deal. They paid for him an apartment and gave him money and blah, blah, just to be their own private security. So the security company we worked for was getting upset because they were losing good employees and they were losing revenue because the places where they would send us would love us so much that they got rid of them and just listen, you just come work for us and do the job.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't go into it anyway. Anyway, it's kind of long, but a big short.
It's all right.
Lo and behold, I wound up, they asked me to go in this nightclub in Carlsbad, California. It used to be a biker bar called Ralph and Eddie's, but they used to have the nickname of Rough and Ready's. Well, the old owner that had been there forever had given it to his daughter, Kathleen. She decided she was going to make it into a dance club, with live bands. Okay. So she needed security because, literally the scenario is 15 miles down the street, you got the 2nd largest Marine Corps base at Camp Pendleton. And then this has been a biker bar. Then you got a lot of half-naked dressed girls coming in because it's now going to be a dance nightclub. Yeah. So the security that she had there before just wasn't up to the
challenge. The challenge.
And it's a challenge.
Yeah.
You got young Marines over here ready to go who probably haven't seen a woman in 6-7 months because they've been out in the field. And then you got all these bikers on this side and a bunch of half-naked girls thrown in the middle.
Yeah.
So I wind up going in for the security company to work there, and we really cleaned the place up. And the owner loved it so much, she made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Like why don't you take over this, and I'll pay you this. Because what happens with security companies, a lot of people don't realize is you may not always have the same security officer. It depends on the security company you work for. They may have to send that officer to another spot or whatever.
They move them around.
You get moved around. Sometimes you get lucky, and the guys that you get the same security guy for the rest of it, if he's good.
Yeah.
So this happened with her that I wound up having to be sent somewhere else. It was a bank or whatever it was. They after I came back, she was like, "Okay, we don't want anybody else. We just want you here." What do I say? I don't want to take this from national security. These guys have been great for me. I pay, but she made me an offer as a businessman. She made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So next thing you know, I'm now cooler, and now I got 3 clubs and 12, 14 employees. Well, this club is doing live music, live bands, all kind of live bands, reggae, rock. This is how do you put this without being sounding racist? It's a white folks club. It's in a very nice area, but it used to be a rough club. So
no, I understand.
We have rock bands coming in playing the Doors, and we had this band called what were they called? They come in from San Francisco in an actual yellow school bus. They were straight hippies. I mean, they would even go so far as put up the sheets with overhead projector with the watercolors.
Oh, really?
They were old school. The hotheads. That's what they were called. The hotheads.
Hotheads.
Anyway, make a long story short. One night I'm bouncing, and I had just met my now wife. We were just friends at that time. And so one night I'm ahead there. I'm bouncing. I'm watching around, walking around. Got my walkies on, all this stuff. Mission Impossible, whatever. And for some reason, the lead singer of the band, I think he was trying to impress some girls or something. But somehow or another, next thing I know, I got the microphone in my face. And and I didn't know the song. I mean, I grew up straight gospel. I mean, I heard some R&B stuff while I was in the military, but I never really listened to the lyrics of these songs. But he was doing that song. It's been a long time since the rock and roll.
Oh yeah, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, Zeppelin.
Rock and roll. That's the name of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know that now. Back then, I had no idea.
Didn't know.
No, but a melody is a melody.
Yeah.
To me.
And it's a blues riff because it's 3 chords. It's in a key of A. It's
rock. 90% of all rock songs.
It's all blues.
So
it's a 1-4-5 song. There you go.
It's a 1-4-5. That's what they all are. That's what they are. So I didn't know the words, so I just made up something, and I was just in a good mood, so I just had fun with it. Handed him back the mic. Everybody's looking at the bouncer guy like what the hell? And I'm just like, then I'm walking around like nothing happened because I'm just like, whatever. I just hadn't done it in a while, but everybody was shocked. But my wife, again, who was just my friend at the time, she was there. And I remember her a couple weeks later, she was like, once we started really getting to know each other and become friends and all that, and she found out I was working 2 and 3 jobs. I was barely sleeping, unhappy at home. Stuff was bad. But like I told her, I have a son and I'm old school. So as long as my son is there, no matter how bad it gets, I'm going to be there because I grew up without a father and I'd be damned if he grows up without one.
Right.
So Pam she wouldn't give up. She just kept telling me like, you lit up and the whole room lit up when you did that. You need to do this. Fast forward, we're now boyfriend, girlfriend. We're living together. She would never give up. I would go get these jobs. She was like, "You're wasting your time. You got a bad knee. You need to just go do music." And I remember telling her, like, the problem is you can't make any money playing music.
No.
And da la 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 la. And she's like, "Yes, you can. You can do it if you take it like a business." I'm like, So finally, one time she told me, she's like, and I said, well, I said, I'm old school. I don't care how much money you bring in. I said, I feel as a man, I got to bring in something. I don't give them if it only pays for the trash bill. I gotta do something. I can't just lay up in here and be like, I'm not a kept man.
Right.
My mentality just doesn't work that way. But she never gave up. And she pushed and she pushed and she pushed. And I said, well, she signed me up for a few jams without me even knowing it. And preachers we going out to go have a good time. Next thing I know, I'm in some blues club or somewhere, and my name is already on the. I kid you not. My name is already on the list, and I'm sitting like, what the hell? I was like, so I started learning all this stuff. But that's how I started. And she just never gave up on me. She had been my manager for a long time, and all my success and the whole thing is all because of Pam.
She saw something, brother. She saw it.
Oh yes, she did. I always tell people, and I've said this in a million interviews. My wife Pam believed in me before I believed in myself.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had just given up on it. I always thought music, in the church, especially the black church, the way they treated us musicians back then. You couldn't have church without the black musicians.
No.
But you didn't get paid. You were kind of treated like a secondhand citizen.
Yeah.
I told these guys now when I meet some of these guys, I mean, I was Kirk Franklin before there was a Kirk Franklin. And I tell some of these guys now, I say, you guys got to realize that how good you guys got. I talked to some of these church musicians. They're like, well, what do you mean? I said, in my day, we played, made up all these songs and did all this stuff for nothing. They're like, for nothing? Yeah. I said, we were just expected that, you love the Lord. This is what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then maybe every once in a blue moon, some preacher might take up a love offering for the musicians.
Yeah.
After, and so the younger guys gonna look at me like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm like, no, that's the way it
I
was.
never got paid. I mean, I played for a long time. I never even thought about it. You never thought about it.
But these guys don't think about that now. They ain't gonna play unless they get paid. And I'm just like, dude, it was not that way. It was not that way. I can't tell you how many midnight musicals I had been in church for 15 hours. You didn't get nothing. God forbid you drop a beat or slow down, the whole church look over and you're like, what's wrong with you? But anyway, so that what pushed me into it. And every time I've wanted to stop or every time I've wanted to go do something else, my wife Pam has always been there. Just like the last album, In Too Deep. She was telling me that as she was sitting there fighting cancer. She's still fighting cancer, for God's sake. Fighting cancer and everything. And I wanted to just give up on it and go do something else because I needed to be there and I didn't want to be on the road while she was like, baby, you in too deep to quit now. And that's where that whole album
That's where the title came from,
Yeah. So she's always been my biggest supporter. And God bless her. Everything that has happened, the success, everything has all been because she just wouldn't let me quit. And she saw something that I couldn't see. But that's also why if you get a good woman, and I do mean a good woman, there ain't very much a man can't accomplish without a good woman by his side. I mean, because you got somebody who's going to support you and believe in you and bring out the best in you. It's hard to fail with that. I got lucky with the first band, Aunt Kizzy'z Boyz. And with that band, we were literally playing 270 shows a year. A lot of casino dates all over the San Diego area. And those guys were really into blues music and kind of a rockish blues thing. And so I enjoyed playing with Aunt Kizzy'z. And then, there's so much that happened. I mean, it would be hard for me to write down everything that happened, but along the way, I wound up becoming a singer for the Mannish Boys. And I don't know if you know who the Mannish Boys were, but the Mannish Boys, that's what broke me into the whole blues world. I mean, we won the second place finish in 2005 with Aunt Kizzy'z Boyz at the IBC. And then probably a few years after that, I mean, I had my own band and we was touring, doing some world touring. But then I went with the Mannish Boys. And the Mannish Boys was under Delta Group Records out of Los Angeles, a guy named Randy Shortcall. And what the Mannish Boys were the best blues guys on the West Coast. So you had Kid Ramos on guitar, you had Perry Slim on guitar, Kirk Fletcher, Jimmy Bott on drums, Willie J. Campbell on bass, the legendary Finest Tasby singing. You had Leon Blue and Johnny Dyer singing. And Johnny Dyer had passed, and Bobby Jones. Johnny Dyer had passed, Bobby Jones kind of retired, and next thing I know, I wound up being asked to do it. And that really opened things up in the quote unquote the blues world for me, because then people got to see me on a larger stage, and I was introduced to a larger audience. And so I'm sitting there being bored to death, don't know anybody. This is LA now. We're not talking about down in San Diego or out there. This is LA now.
Right,
and this is back during the heyday. And so, I knew Slash because he and I had met in New Orleans or whatever, but I didn't know him. We just had gigged together on a jam type deal and kind of hit it off good. This is before I realized who he even was at that time, So again, my wife's like, well, why are you just sitting around here? I'm like, well, in San Diego, I'm known. I've done enough stuff that people know Sugar Ray, and like I hear nobody know who the hell I am. I'm just some black dude walking down the street. This is LA. And she said, just be yourself and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, So finally, she got tired of me moping around. She found this jam at this place called Kizzy'z. So I started going to Kizzy'z to sign up for the jam on Monday nights. And you know how it is when you're a new guy in town and it's a jam. My name is on the list, and I'm sitting there for hours and hours.
I was going to say you're like the last person coming up.
I never even got called up.
Oh, well.
Never even got called up. I went twice that I didn't get called up, but I was enjoying the music and stuff. So, and it gave me something to do. I had nothing else to do with sitting in the apartment or whatever. So one night, it was one of those slow Monday nights. They called me up. So I got up and just had fun and be myself. The next thing I know, that was on a Monday. That Thursday, I get a call from the owner, Stephen Ricosi. He's like, hey, and I'm like, how did this guy get my number? He's like, this is how I knew things in LA are different.
Yeah.
So somehow this guy's got my number. He's like, hey, man, I saw you at the club that night and blah, 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 and love what you did. You know, you got such energy and blah, blah, blah. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. He said, listen, the guy, his name was John Marks. He's like, John Marks has been running the gym here for like 16 years. We thinking about making a change. You know, would you like to come in and run the jam? And I'm sitting there like, and I said, well, I mean, I just moved to LA, man. And I said, you know, I don't want to make anyone pissed off because I know how this business works. I said, I don't want anybody like this new guy come in and taking people's gigs and blah, blah, blah. He said, no, we've already talked to John. He understands. He's done it long enough. He's moving on, blah, blah. And so next thing I know, then I found out later they never even talked to John. So, but I wound up having a conversation with him. Yeah, that's LA for you. Yeah. I wound up having a conversation with him. And because this guy was like a walking dictionary with music. This guy knew everybody, had played with everybody. He's an old timer guitarist. He had been there, done that. You know, he the one that introduced me to Merle Haggard when he was out in Escondido and all that stuff. So this guy knew everybody. Anyway, now I'm calling Aunt Kizzy'z Boyz to come to LA to help me with this jam because I don't know any musicians in LA. So these guys love me. So they're driving from San Diego to LA every Monday to play this jam for $50-$60. Oh, wow. You know how it goes.
Yes.
And so my friend Chuck, the one I was telling you about before that produced our album, Chuck came in one night, and I had been doing it for like 3 weeks. Chuck came in one night and he said, Sugar, he said, this could really be something. He said, but Aunt Kizzy'z Boyz is a good band, but they're not at LA and world level. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, you know. He said, why don't you let me bring the band in behind you and you just run the jam? So you got this personality, you can sing. And I'm like, you know, we talked about that for a while, and finally I agreed to it. And I was just like, Chuck, don't leave me stranded with no band on a Monday night. And I'm sitting up trying to do it. He's like, no, I got you. Well, unbeknownst to me, Chuck is a mover and shaker and has known everybody in the music industry in LA. So the very first night, I remember, first Monday night, I come in and Chuck got the band there. It's like a 6-piece band on this little stage. We're playing. And I'm just like, man, these guys can really play. You know, wow, you know, these guys can play. Lo and behold, going a little bit, Kizzy'z Monday night wound up being the place if you was an A-list musician and you wanted to play. Because what happens with jams is they just become weekend warriors. But we call this a pro jam. Now remember, I don't know anybody.
Right.
I don't know anybody. So I just treat everybody as I would, like we do in Texas. I just treat everyone with gold until you give me a reason not to. You just, you know, that's you know. Then later, I start realizing who some of the people are. So next thing you know, I realized I got Slash. I had met him. There's Steve Lukather. There's Vivian Campbell. There's basically Stevie Wonder's entire band. There's the Dramatics. There's guys from Prince. There's guys from the next thing I know, that's how I met the Phantom Blues Band, because Finnegan would come in and play, and Teddy Zigzag, who was the keyboardist for Guns N' Roses, that's how I met Al Cooper. He and I became friends. Is how I met.
Wait, stop. Al Cooper. You've met Al Cooper.
My first album, if you go back and look at my first album, my first solo album, it's called Blind Alley. There's 2 Al Cooper songs on there. The reason those songs are on there is that Al was such a friend that when I did my first album, he gave me 16 songs. He said, Sugar, you can record any of these. He's still a friend.
This is off the subject. I'd love to talk to him. I mean, seriously.
You know, he's pretty frail now. And
I'm
his
sure
wife is very pregnant. I mean, I could talk to my buddy Jimmy Vivino, and him and Jimmy are really, really close.
But I think a lot of people don't know who Al Cooper is.
But they should. I didn't know either, but I learned. And we bonded because he really loves gospel music. He is a gospel music fanatic.
I can hear that with this organ. Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole story behind the whole organ thing that you told me about, but maybe you might know.
No, I
But
don't.
I'll tell you about that when we get done. So next thing you know, I got all these is just world class. One night is me, Slash, and what's the boy name? Jim Carrey. So Jim Carrey came in, he wanted to sing, and I'm like, dude, my rule was you can do whatever you want to do so long as it's the
Wait a minute.
blues.
Jim Carrey, the comedian? That guy?
Oh, you have no idea. We talking about this is huge. I'm not
So,
when I
so
say
basically,
when I
all
say
these
A-list,
famous musicians came in because nobody else knew they were there, really. I mean, they did,
well,
but
no, that's not the way it worked. The way it worked was when guys, when guys worked on tour, you've been on tour for a year, you come home, you relax. Within 2 or 3 weeks in, you want to play,
yeah.
but you don't want to play with a bunch of hacks.
No.
So when the word got around, because Chuck was there, Chuck Kavoris, because he knew everybody. When word got around that Kizzy'z and Chuck and me, that they was all world class guys that was playing, then all world class guys come. So I would have like I became good friends with guys from Lifehouse, the Google Dolls. What they call the Google Dolls? What's that girl band? They used to come all the damn time.
Oh, Go-Go's. The Go-Go's? No,
not the Go-Go's.
Oh.
They were big in these guys were big in the 90s. But anyway, I think it was the Google Dolls or something like that. I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But they used to be there all the time, and a lot of the actors, Faison and Bobby Brown and Tommy Davis, and
so it was the place to be.
But it was the place to be
if you're a musician, and you didn't ever get on stage unless you were really you had to be good.
Well, the funny thing was, I used to have other musicians that got upset. I would have people calling me all week to get on the list, but what wound up happening is, you try to run a jam where, okay, the house band, we're gonna play for an hour, and then we're gonna open it up and but I couldn't do that because every time I would turn around, there would literally be, Steven, Van Sickle and those guys, or Tab Benoit, not Tab Benoit, I can't even remember all the names there, but the guys from Dwight Yoakam, or or it literally be Chico DeBarge and the DeBarges. They wanted to come in and do blues that night, or I look over in the whole Tower Power horn section along with some of the guys from the Chicago band. There's a video somewhere you can find it. There's like 13 horns on this little stage that can only hold like 4 people. It's literally Chicago's horn section and Tower Power, and we played this jam in this little clip. So, matter of fact, that's how I got my first commercial, because I have a lot of commercials that people don't even know, but you've been listening to my voice for years. So the McDonald's, the ba-da-ba-ba-ba, that's me. I got 2 right now with Michelob Ultra Gold, Jim Beam, Cadillac, Toyota. I did the theme song for the Judge Joe Brown Show. I got songs in 12 different episodes of different TV series like Personal Adventures and True Blood and blah. Anyway, there's a lot to this life. And so that started. So one night, I'm off, and Pam is with me, and we having a date night out, and we go to this place called the Baked Potato. And I'm at the Baked Potato, and Chuck is there, and these other guys, they sound good, they're playing. I'm like, oh, these guys are good. And so I'm out back talking to Richie Sambora. You remember the guy Richie Sambora?
Oh, I know who he is, so
he's driving this Lamborghini, and Pam and I are back here talking to him. We're just like, whatever, Lamborghini. But he was a nice guy. And next thing I know, somebody come out the back door, and they're like, sure, they want you to come sing. I'm like, okay, man. So I go up there, and I'm singing with these guys. I couldn't tell I did have an accent, but I couldn't tell where they were from. Anyway, I sing with them. We have fun. I get done. Pam and I driving back. And my wife, because my wife is a music head. She's like, you have no idea who we were just playing with, right? I was like, nah, but they were good, and they were nice cats. She's like, babe, that was Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And I'm like, I'm still looking at her like, I have no idea who
you don't even know who they are.
Again, I'm a gospel guy.
Yeah, you don't know.
It's funny when I tell people this stuff, because people are like, what? I'm like,
no,
listen, I was a gospel guy.
No, I understand completely, because
I did not know these people. I did recognize talent music when I heard it being played, but I didn't know these people. It was later when Chuck like, man, Slash is upset. I'm like, about what? Like, you didn't call him up. I'm like, he was here? And so finally I remember yelling at Chuck because Chuck didn't get it. I said, Chuck, you know these guys. I said, these guys could walk in front of me. I would have no idea who they are. Yeah. You have to let me know. So it would be like that. I mean, one night, Epic Records brought in Oriente. They had just brought her in from Australia.
Yeah.
And so there's a video with me, her, and this little surfer girl named Jadina and Chuck. And
isn't Oriente? She's not very tall either. Oriente's not a very big person.
No, Oriente, no. But she's a hell of a player.
Oh yeah.
And this was before the whole Michael Jackson thing. Literally, they had just brought her in from Australia. She's at my jam throwing down because everybody it became the place to be.
Yeah.
Albino Bennett, Gary Malaber from the Eagles, and all this stuff. So next thing you know, I get a call from this guy who is now vice president of Pixar, but this is back then. So I get a call from this guy. He's putting together this band, and they're calling the Invitation All Stars. And he's like, "You listen, I know you got the Monday night jams, but you want to come out and play some local, just little club dates and have some fun." I'm like, "Dude, I got nothing to do. I'm only doing this on Mondays, so great." So we have a quick rehearsal. Real nice guys. We're playing these little small venues. We probably hold 100, 200 people. There's a million of them all over LA, but they're famous. So we're in this place called Liquid Kitty, and I'm looking over and I'm seeing all these stars that I mean I know their name, but they're television people, so I know their faces.
Yeah.
And so this happened like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on? Because I know they're not here for me, And so Wikipedia, and so my wife started looking up the guys that are in the band because it's only a 4-piece band. It's me singing, Adam Stuck on guitar, this guy on drums, this guy on bass. That's it.
Right.
And we called it the Invitation All Stars. And I thought the name was pretty presumptuous, but that's what he called the band. Trying to find out, the guitar that Adam Stark, like I said, was just starting Pixar with his partner. The guy on the bass was Gerald Johnson. I don't know if you know Gerald Johnson.
Name sounds familiar.
Black guy, upside down, left-handed bass. He was the original bassist for the Steve Miller Band, Space Cowboy and all that. Oh,
yes. I know who he is. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's who's on bass.
Yeah.
On the drums, as I found out later, and we're still good friends, is the legendary James Gatson.
Oh.
So that's the band and me. It was called the Invitation All Stars. And so find out later that all these people knew who Gerald was, but all of them knew who James was. Because James had played with everybody.
Yeah.
And that was my first LA band. And things just blew up for me from there. And then I joined Aunt Kizzy'z Boyz and blah, blah, blah. And I remember the night I met Mayall, it was me, Jimmy Vivino, and Cal David. They had called me in to come play. And this little, I thought it was an Australian guy playing harmonica, blah, blah. And later, I remember Cal David, God rest his soul, passed on now. Cal was like, you have no idea who that was. I'm like, hell no. He's like, harmonica, because he comes up to me and he's like, hey, mate, I've heard them all, man. You sound great. I love playing with you at McCard, blah, blah. He's like, that's John Mayall. I'm like, well, I couldn't have picked him out by face, but I had heard the name now. By now, I knew
we know who he was, because he was the British.
So,
he's like 83 now. I think he's
still on the label.
Yeah, he's still on the label. Yeah.
But it's that's what happened with me, and then things blew up from there.
Why do you think you're so blessed, my friend? Do you ever think about it? I mean, you're a church guy. We all know where talent comes from. But you've been super blessed.
Yeah.
Why? Do you ever just pinch yourself and go, because I'm going to ask you the same question I ask a lot of people, especially famous people. When was the moment that you realized that, what the hell am I standing up here playing with so-and-so or doing something? Do you remember when that moment came to you?
During the days of COVID, that was cool. And I had really become a blues head. So I think the first time that I met Honey Boy Edwards, or the first time I met Hubert Sumner, they came in to play.
Oh, Hubert, yeah.
And Jimmy Vivino is the one that brought them in because I knew Jimmy. And Hubert had just had the lung surgery. I think he had one lung. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy didn't really want him to play, but Hubert really wanted to play. And then one night, I think the one that got me there's 2 incidents between you and I that got me where it made me feel that maybe I was on the right path. One night it was my first time playing in Norway, and I was in a little town called Chopsvik, way up in Norway, and it was called the Cement Blues Festival. And it's weird. They used to have cement barges come from New York to there and pick up cement and then take it to New York. It was a weird thing. I used to be like, I would take cement from Norway to, but anyway, I was playing with this local guy, and his sons were backing me up, Erkan and the Oostemirs. And I was 4 songs into my set, and this old black guy comes up on stage and starts playing harmonica, and then he plays guitar. And back then I was doing just straight ahead blues, just straight ahead, just like, you know what I mean? I mean, there wasn't no deviation. God damn it, we landed down. This is straight ahead blues.
Yeah, yep.
And the old guy came up to me and blah, 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 blah. And, me growing up in East Texas, when we spoke to old elder folks, the way I learned, when the elder folks talk, you listen because you're going to learn something. Shut the hell up, listen.
Yeah.
And so he talked to me for about an hour or two, and it was later because I didn't know who he was again. It was later I found out that it was Lazy Lester, and wherever he saw me, he would come up and speak to me, and I was just like and just encourage me and everything. And then it happened again with Henry Gray. Henry was that way, But there was one time, and I lost my train of thought because I had it. There was one time I was playing somewhere, and we were doing a B.B. King song. And I want to say we were in the San Diego area. And we're sitting there, we had recorded this song, The Thrill Is Gone, and we had made it very Afro-Cuban sounding or whatever.
Wait, what was the tune?
The Thrill Is Gone.
Oh, The Thrill Is Gone, okay.
But we had picked it up and made it very Afro-Cuban because we had a conga player and blah, blah, polyrhythms, and, we were just having fun. And so we're in the parking lot listening to this recording, and there's a bus there. We had just played, and the guy, his name is Boogaloo, I think, the trumpet player for BB. And when he started with wave his hair, anyway, he comes out and he said, man, he said, the boss could hear you guys playing the music, and he really liked what you were playing. And I'm like, boss, oh, okay. And well, come to find out, the boss is BB King.
I was going to say, yeah, it's BB.
He's been sitting in the bus, listening to us play this version of The Thriller. That was surreal to me. That I got to meet him and for a few minutes. I mean, I never got to sit down like a lot of people, but the fact that he was like, I like what you're doing. He could have been like, what the hell you doing to my song? Blah, 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 blah. There's been a few times where I've had to kind of pitch myself, but the funny thing is a lot of times the pitching came afterwards because a lot of times I had no idea whom I was standing next to, and I was just being me. I was just, it was later when somebody was like, but this is so and so and so, and then I'm like, yeah, I know that music. I didn't know that was he who made that music, but I know that music. And, and so when I put the band together, even the guys that were in Aunt Kizzy'z Boyz, not Aunt Kizzy'z Boyz, the guys that was in Sugaray Rayford band in the beginning, these were all world-class guys. I mean, my music director, Ralph Carter, on bass was Eddie Money's bass player. He's the one that wrote Shakin' and all that.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that helped me. Ralph Carter. He's the one that helped me write Blind Alley and a bunch of other stuff.
All those people that nobody knows because they know the person out front, but they don't know the people behind them.
Exactly. Gary Malaber, at that time, he had been for years the drummer for the Steve Miller Band.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Gary was my drummer. And then, I had the horns from the Temptations and the Four Tops with Al Walker and Gary Bavano Gary Bavano, Al Walker, those guys. And on keyboards at the time, we had Teddy Zigzag from Guns N' Roses, but Teddy went and did something else. So I had a guy named Phil part of piano. Well, Phil was the keyboardist for Tracy Chapman at that time. I
was going to say, the name sounds right to you.
Yeah. So I had all these guys, and I'm not just trying to drop names because I didn't know who they were at that time. We were just all friends and got together and started a band. And, and then later I had Albino Bennett and Teddy Zigzag and Johnny Griperick. So Johnny wound up playing bass for Walter Trout. Albino left me because
I'll have to tell Walter that when I talk to him.
Walter knows. He knows. Albino left because he was also the drummer at that time for Dave Mason. Dave Mason put him on retainer, and I told Albino, dude, you get a retainer, you got to go.
You got to go.
And he's still with Dave Mason. And what was the other guy's name? He was playing with Mason too, because I lost my drummer and keyboard to Mason. I can't think of his name right now, keyboard, but my brain is a lot of people. So, but if it came to my said name, you know who it was. So Dave Mason took part of my band, and then later Walter took part of my old band. So he had Teddy on keys and Johnny Griperick on bass, but both of those guys used to be in my band. So it was like, I don't know. It's been weird. I'm just trying to think. I mean, I've been so lucky to play with so many people.
But I go back to what I said. I go back to what I said earlier.
I mean,
this is one thing I will tell you.
I would say one of the biggest moments was I was playing in Lucerne, Switzerland.
Okay.
And back then, they let my band, we opened. In the wings was Cyril Neville, Buckwheat Zydeco, and Otis Grant.
Yeah.
I'm opening for those guys. I walked off stage. I'm backstage, trying to stay out the way. And those three kind of surrounded me. And they were just like, young blood, young buck, we love what you're doing. Keep doing it. It's encouraging for us to see cats young like you, blah, blah, blah. And this was from those. That is something that I would take with me to the grave, that Cyril Neville, oldest grand, Buckwheat Zydeco, found it in their heart to take the time to talk to this nobody guy and encourage him like that. That to me, that was the first time I ever remember, because I knew who those guys were by this time.
Sure.
And that was huge to me.
And you could probably go out and say, I want to go on tour. Let's make it happen. But it's a pain in the butt, and it's
the problem I have now though is I have a 7-piece band, so there are times I have to, unfortunately, because just the economics of it. I have to
I was gonna say, just moving around costs you a lot of money.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to just be like, when before airline prices and everything went, quadruple the prices, we would just play 150 shows a year because we enjoy playing. Now I'm a bit more selective. I mean, I got some touring coming up. The middle of it started May, June, July, and all that. We'll get busy.
Yeah, I saw that.
I kind of made it where November, December, January, February, March, April, I was not so busy to make sure that my wife and everything was okay. But I do have a band. They got to eat. If I don't go out work, they don't eat.
They don't eat.
But they do have local gigs that they get to play. Yeah, but having said that kind of stuff, I still enjoy playing. So I still do things like there's a thing called the Blues Giants. So far, we only do it in Europe. So it's me, Mike Zito, Albert Castillo, Jimmy Bott, and used to be Willie J. Campbell. God bless his soul, just passed. I'm not sure if they're going to play bass now. We'll do that this year. I'll go out and play with other people. I try not to do it too much because I don't want the band to think that I've abandoned them or something. But there's still times I go out and play. And I mean, like you mentioned Little Feat, we just did a big giant tribute album to those guys, to the guitarists. One of the guys that passed away. I think that album is.
Oh, that's I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he died not too long ago. Yeah.
I'm on it. Slash is on it. John Mayall, bunch of names. Phil, Paul Cease, and all. I mean, just a bunch of names. And I'm doing Feast Don't Fail Me Now. Matter of fact, on that, so that's coming out. And then we just did another one for that's coming out for. My mind is Mr. Gasson played with it, man.
It happens when you get older, but
that not sleeping enough. Bill Withers. And so we have one coming out there. I'm doing a song that Bill Withers only played live, never recorded, which was really cool. And Mr. Gatson is on there, and some of the guys from the Bill Withers band are playing on it.
Didn't he pass away last? Was it last year he died?
I think it's been 2 years now.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. It hasn't been that long ago.
But the fact that I'm even asked, people even would ask me, that blows my mind. For something like that, because I don't consider myself some big dude. I mean, I'm still out there in the trenches. I'm still fighting, and I've had some success, but it's not like my voice has had more success than me per se. Like say, people don't know me better, but they've been listening to my voice.
If I ask people who James Earl Jones is, they would not know. If I ask them who Darth Vader was, they'd go, "Oh, I know who Darth Vader is."
Right.
Have you ever heard in the airport years ago? This is CNN. Who do you think that voice was? It was James Earl.
Like there's been times I've been on airplanes and heard one of my songs being played on the music, and I'm just sitting there like, that's cool. It's insane. And I look at somebody, hey, that's me.
But what do you kind of see for yourself? You like where you are now, where you can do some voiceovers and do some other stuff, and you can do a little bit of that.
I really like.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do for the next couple of years?
I really like the theater stuff. I've been lucky enough to do some really big theater plays. And I've had to turn a couple down because my tour schedule wouldn't allow it. I like doing the theater. It's not much money, but just the joy of doing it. It's 16, 17-hour days. But
and tell me a little bit about that. What do you mean theater?
Well, like my first theater piece, well, a bit of a long story. I'm in LA. This is back when I'm running coaches and all that.
Right.
I meet this guy named Dan Wheatman. Could find out later he was John Denver's MD, music director, Dan Wheatman. I don't even remember how we met, but next thing I know, I was invited to come do an audition for a play. I had never done a play, didn't know anything about plays.
Right.
So, I go to the place, Pam tell me, yeah, you need to go. Actually, we had met Dan and I had met at San Francisco at the Bohemian Club. I don't know if you know about the Bohemian.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm an honorary member. I became an honorary member. That time they were running this thing called Slide Guitar of the World. So they had guys who played blues slide guitar, Hawaiian slide guitar, sitar type stuff. And we all came to the Bohemian Club and did this whole thing. That's where I met what's the boy name? His brother died. Brother was, I'm a wild and crazy guy. Saturday Night Live, Belushi. I met Belushi there that night.
Oh yeah, Jim, not John. I mean, yeah, Jim.
Yeah. And so went there and did that. Blah 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 blah. 6 months later, I'm back in L.A. and I get the call from Dan Wheatman, he was playing ukulele slide or something at that show, and he's like, "Hey, we got this play," and I'm like, "Play? Like, we want you to come in and audition for it." Like, man,
was it a singing and talking part, or just a talking part?
Yes, both.
Okay,
both. So I went there, and they give you, I guess, when you go to audition, they give you a one sheet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm a musician.
Yeah,
I'm a singer. So
you don't know what
I memorized. Yeah. Well, I memorized. So that's what we do. It's not like I'm standing on stage reading this and singing,
right. Yeah.
And so I go in, I find that there's 20, 30 people in this room, they're being auditioned. So I go in and look over the one sheet one more time, and I deliver the lines as best I could. I memorized them all. So I'm just trying to read it and live the thing. And they were looking at me strange. And I was like, oh shit, I fucked it up, whatever. And they said, well, all right, can you, after my little 20, 30 minutes, can you wait in the hallway and we'll call you back? So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and people are going in and out. The next thing you know, there's only 3 of us left. And they call in the one guy. So I come back in and they're like, could you do the lines again? I'm like, okay. So I run the lines again. And they're like, okay, go back in the hallway. Because I said, this is went on this. I've been here for like 2.5 hours now. Come to find out, when it's all said and done, they brought me in. They're like, we want to offer you 2 parts. I was going to play the part of Leadbelly and Harry Belafonte.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, they were giving me 4 parts. And they were like, so why did you memorize the one sheet? And I'm like, well, I've never done theater. I said, I thought that's what you do. As a musician, that's what we do. We go in. If I'm going to do a song, I got to memorize it and make it mine and get my emotion right. It's like reading a story. Every song is a story. And I got to make sure that story is being given the right emotional blah, blah, blah. So I said, the best way is to memorize the words so you're not worried about the words and you can add the emotion anyway. So they offered me the part. I couldn't do it because I had my first world tour coming up. I had an 8-month tour. Do that. 3 years later, I get a call from Dan Wheatman again. And this time they're in Portland, Oregon. They said, listen, we're doing Ain't Nothing But the Blues. I'm like, okay. He's like, you don't have to audition. We want to give you the part of Ron, is it Ron Perlman? So this is the original cast, the 4-time Tony Award winning cast from New York. It's not like some little, these are the people. Yeah, these are the people that wonder. And the only reason, come to find out later, the only reason they stopped doing it is the Ron guy had died and they hadn't been able to find anybody really to cast to replace him.
Yep.
Dan ended up telling Randall Myler, the director, about me. They go to YouTube and start looking, before YouTube, they Wikipedia, however it was, they start looking up stuff. And so they're like, you don't even need to audition. Just come do the play. And I'm like, okay. So I go to Portland. Pam sends me out there without me even knowing. She's like, yeah, you going. So I go to Portland and we run through this. And there's people that are like Eloise Laws and one country girl. I can't remember her name. She was big time for a while there. All these unbelievable musicians that are well known, and I have the lead role of this play.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so it's totally different because of the third wall and the fourth wall and learning all this stuff and upstage and backstage and landing in marks and blah, 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 blah. It's 18-hour days, no understudy, and I'm just like, okay, wow. So when we open at the Armory Theater in Portland, it opens sold out. 8 shows a week, sold out every show, 3 months straight. They want to extend it for another 2 months. I can't do it because I got commitments to go.
Yeah, right.
Play. Then years later, Randall and them write a new play called The Low Down Dirty Blues. And immediately They're like, well, there's no audition. The play was written for you, the legendary Miss Felicia Fields, who was the original Ophelia in the original Color Purple from theater, and Chick Streetman. And so we wound up going to Milwaukee. We do that for 4 or 5 months. It's sold out every night. They want to extend it. I can't. I got to go. Next thing I know, a year later, we do it in Cincinnati. Then I get a call from Dreamgirls.
Oh, wow.
And they want me to play the Eddie Murphy part. Yeah. But I can't do it because at the time I'm touring. And this is back when I was doing 120, 150 dates a year. We're touring like crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the theater's been. They even ran play again here in Phoenix and Tucson. They wanted me to do it. They brought it to Phoenix and Tucson to get me to do it, but I was already committed to be out of the country and tour. So I love doing the theater. It's a lot of fun. There's almost no money into it, but the passion and the what you call it is so great. So theater, I've been lucky to do a lot of theater, and I will hopefully do some more in the future.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. A very special thank you to our guest today, Sugaray Rayford. For more information about Sugar Ray, just go to his website, Sugaray Rayford, all one word, .com, and you can find out about where he's going to be. He's going to be on tour this summer and doing a lot of stuff. You listen to his music, everything like that. And also a very special thank you to our continued support from David Smith of Edward Jones. Thank you, David. And remember, if you want more information about The Trout Show, you go to our website at thetroutshow.com, find out about more podcasts, YouTubes, all that stuff. So until next time, people, remember what I always say. It's only rock and roll, but I love it. See ya.